I swear to God, I didn't kill those people.
The movie opens with a peaceful scene where a scientist named Clyde enjoys quality time with his small family. Their happiness is abruptly shattered when their door is violently banged on by robbers. Clyde is rendered helpless, as his hands are tied and he is stabbed in the stomach. The attackers subject his wife to the same brutal treatment and even attempt to assault her in front of Clyde. Just as the horrific scene unfolds, their young daughter appears, and one of the robbers, Darby, turns his twisted attention toward her. Clyde, bleeding heavily, loses consciousness. Sometime later, the narrative shifts to a prosecutor named Nick, who is tasked with handling the case of Clyde's wife and child's murder. Nick delivers the disheartening news. They lack sufficient evidence to secure the harshest punishment for Darby. In a shocking turn, Darby's accomplice, Ames, is pinned with most of the crimes. Darby offers to betray his partner in exchange for a reduced sentence. This deal ensures Darby receives only 5 years in prison, while Ames faces the death penalty. Despite Clyde's protests and pleas for justice, Nick coldly explains that the legal system is bound by what can be proven in court, not what is known to be true. At Darby's sentencing hearing, Clyde watches from a distance as Darby smugly shakes Nick's hand outside the courthouse, expressing gratitude for the leniency. This moment solidifies Clyde's deep disappointment in a justice system that appears more focused on legal technicalities than actual justice. 10 years pass. Nick, now a highly respected prosecutor, leads a happy life with his family. One afternoon, Nick attends the execution of Ames. Before the lethal injection is administered, Ames declares his innocence, insisting he did not kill Clyde's wife and daughter. However, his pleas fall on deaf ears. When the injection begins, Ames reacts violently and painfully instead of slipping into unconsciousness as expected. The incident causes widespread shock. Investigators later discover that the execution drug was tampered with, and the packaging bears a phrase commonly used by Darby. Suspicion naturally falls on him. Meanwhile, Darby is relaxing in his apartment when he receives a mysterious phone call. The caller, guiding him through the situation, helps him evade the police, who are en route to search his place. Following the caller's instructions, Darby escapes and finds an unconscious police officer nearby. The caller instructs Darby to use the officer's equipment to aid his escape. However, Darby soon realizes he has fallen into a trap, set by none other than Clyde. The gun Darby retrieves is modified to expose him to a paralyzing toxin. Now entirely at Clyde's mercy, Darby is taken to an abandoned warehouse. In the warehouse, Clyde reveals his meticulously prepared tools for exacting revenge. Before commencing the torture, he injects Darby with a high dose of adrenaline, preventing him from losing consciousness. Clyde ensures Darby will endure the full extent of suffering that mirrors the anguish Clyde himself experienced 10 years earlier. The next day, Darby's dismembered body is discovered by the police, with his limbs cut into 25 pieces. The warehouse where his remains are found is linked to Clyde, and Nick immediately suspects him. Nick and the authorities waste no time and move to arrest Clyde at his home. However, Clyde, who has anticipated every move, is prepared for their arrival. The investigation uncovers numerous books on law in Clyde's possession, along with a photograph of Nick shaking hands with Darby years ago. This evidence reveals Clyde's deep understanding of the legal system and his meticulous planning. During interrogation, Clyde surprises Nick with his intelligence and precision. He answers every question with calculated care, ensuring that his words cannot be used against him. Nick, who initially underestimates Clyde, quickly realizes he is dealing with a highly strategic individual. Without concrete evidence, the authorities cannot charge Clyde, so he proposes a deal. He will confess to his crimes if Nick provides him with a specific bed for his detention cell. Despite the seemingly absurd nature of the request, Nick reluctantly agrees. Clyde's imprisonment turns out to be another part of his grand plan. While behind bars, he continues to manipulate events. A disturbing DVD containing footage of Darby's murder is sent to Nick's home, where his daughter unwittingly views it. The incident forces Nick to comply with Clyde's demands. Among the hundreds of prisoners, Clyde is the only one granted a special bed, highlighting his unique influence even in custody. The following day, Clyde appears in court. To everyone's shock, he successfully convinces the judge to release him on bail, arguing his case with remarkable skill and without a lawyer. This moment serves as a scathing critique of the flawed justice system, demonstrating how easily legal loopholes can be exploited. Clyde's actions are not aimed at freedom, but at exposing the system's chaos and inefficiency, the same system that failed his family a decade ago. After securing his release, Clyde voluntarily returns to custody, where Nick demands that he fulfill his promise to confess. Clyde obliges, providing detailed and gruesome accounts of his actions. He admits to torturing Darby and sabotaging Ames's execution, describing his methods with chilling precision. Just as Nick believes his job is done, Clyde proposes another deal. He will reveal the location of a kidnapped lawyer, Bill Reynolds, if Nick meets his demands for a specific meal and music by a strict deadline. Nick, desperate to save Reynolds, complies with the bizarre request. However, due to delays caused by the prison warden's insistence on checking the food, the meal arrives 8 minutes late. Clyde, visibly annoyed, still provides the coordinates of Reynolds' location. Nick and his team rush to the scene via helicopter, but it is too late. Reynolds is found buried underground, his oxygen supply exhausted. The delay, albeit minor, proves fatal, further showcasing Clyde's meticulous planning and the deadly consequences of underestimating him. While the authorities race to uncover Clyde's next move, he calmly enjoys the meal brought to him, sharing it with his cellmate. Each action and demand Clyde makes is part of his elaborate scheme to exact revenge and expose the flaws of the justice system that failed him so profoundly. The chaos deepens as Clyde Shelton's calculated plans continue to unfold. Following his shocking actions, Clyde is transferred to a special, high-security cell. However, this does nothing to stop him from confronting Nick Rice. During an intense discussion, Clyde challenges Nick's morals and decisions. He calls out the broken legal system, asking, how many guilty people are walking free because of compromises made by the justice system? Clyde then delivers a chilling line. Do you think your wife and daughter would feel good about what you've done? Clyde's pain and anger are palpable as he reminds Nick that his own wife and daughter are gone forever, leaving Nick visibly shaken. That night, Nick's colleague Jonas approaches him with a lead. After digging into Clyde's background, Jonas uncovers something startling. Clyde had worked as a contractor for the U.S. government. To better understand Clyde's capabilities, they meet with a CIA operative who reveals Clyde's dark past. According to the agent, Clyde was often hired for his unmatched skill in eliminating high-value targets. He was a master strategist, capable of killing his enemies without being anywhere near them. The agent ominously warns Nick, if Clyde wants you dead, you're already dead. This revelation leaves Nick and Jonas rattled, further emphasizing the danger Clyde poses, even from inside a prison cell. Determined to limit Clyde's reach, Nick and Jonas meet with the judge to request additional restrictions on Clyde's prison privileges, particularly his access to communication devices. However, during their conversation, the judge's phone rings repeatedly. Moments later, the judge is killed by a hidden mechanism in her phone, another one of Clyde's deadly traps. Shockingly, this judge was the same one who had reduced Darby's sentence years ago, underscoring Clyde's methodical pursuit of revenge against those he deems responsible for the system's failures. Nick confronts Clyde in his cell once again, asking, "What more could you possibly want?" Clyde's response reveals the depth of his mission. This isn't just about revenge, it's about exposing the corruption and flaws within the justice system. "If this were only about revenge," Clyde says coldly, "I could have killed you and your family anytime I wanted." Instead, he's waging war against the system itself. Clyde demands to be released by 6 a.m., warning that failure to comply will result in the deaths of Nick's colleagues. The threat is clear, and Clyde's track record proves he's not bluffing. In response, Nick relocates his team to the prison, believing it to be the safest location. However, as the clock strikes 6 a.m., a devastating series of explosions rock the city. Several of Nick's colleagues are killed when their cars explode, each vehicle rigged with undetectable bombs hidden in the gas tanks. Investigators discover that Clyde had tampered with the vehicles during a routine inspection, further showcasing his meticulous planning. Nick is left reeling from the loss, consumed by guilt and anger. Desperate for answers, Nick and Jonas dig deeper into Clyde's resources. They uncover an old garage owned by Clyde near the prison. Inside, they find an underground tunnel filled with weapons, explosives, and other supplies. To their astonishment, the tunnel leads directly to Clyde's cell, explaining how he's been able to orchestrate his deadly schemes from behind bars. This discovery changes everything, revealing the full extent of Clyde's genius and preparation. Meanwhile, Clyde infiltrates City Hall, disguised as a janitor, carrying a bomb hidden among cleaning supplies. He manages to assemble the bomb inside the building, targeting a meeting of high-ranking officials. Nick and his team uncover Clyde's plan and rush to City Hall. They find the bomb rigged in the basement, directly beneath the mayor's meeting room. A bomb squad member begins defusing the device, but Nick realizes that Clyde is likely watching their every move through CCTV. Any sudden evacuation could trigger the explosion. This realization forces Nick to tread carefully, further highlighting Clyde's ability to stay one step ahead. Clyde eventually returns to his cell, confident in the success of his plan. He carries a cell phone, ready to detonate the bomb remotely. However, Nick has anticipated this move. In a tense confrontation, Nick confronts Clyde in his cell, declaring that he's done making deals with murderers. Clyde, unfazed, insists on continuing his mission, believing it's the only way to expose the system's corruption. Nick pleads with Clyde to stop, arguing that his actions have caused immense pain to innocent people, but Clyde remains resolute, showing no remorse for the collateral damage. Unbeknownst to Clyde, Nick has already relocated the bomb to Clyde's cell. As the countdown nears 0, Nick escapes the prison, while Clyde stays behind, resigned to his fate. The explosion claims Clyde's life, bringing his reign of terror to an end. Despite his death, Clyde's actions leave a lasting impact on Nick and the justice system. His message about the system's flaws resonates deeply, forcing Nick to reflect on his own role in perpetuating its shortcomings. In the aftermath, Nick attends his daughter's music performance, cherishing the time with his family. The events have taught him the importance of balancing justice with humanity, leaving him determined to uphold the law with integrity moving forward. End of the movie. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments, like the video, and stay tuned for more recaps.
What floor is this? That's the 5th floor, sir. It's everywhere.
Turn around, sir, extend.
He's not here. If he's not there, then where is he?